Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, a very, very special guest. I know nothing about this man other than the 3-minute conversation we just had and a couple text messages back and forth in social media content. But Sherard Glover, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is really cool. So I get to, in the world in which I live, social media and promoting the fire service there, I've met people from all over the world, and people they just pop up in the greatest of times for me. It's like I'm seeking or searching for something, and then I put a post up, and next thing you know, somebody I've never met before sends me a nice message or something like that, and we start going back and forth. And I want to read something. You hit me up after a post I just posted not too long ago. It was a generic, like, third party post. It wasn't even my content. It was like I shared it, but it was like a leadership type of management type thing. And you said, I agree. The mission of the fire service hasn't changed much since its existence. Yes, we do wear many hats and serve in varying capacities, but we can't steer from that too much. We've got to stand on our basic principles and honor proficiency over passing.
Right.
How?
Right.
I love that, man. That last sentence, basic principles and honoring proficiency over passing. The world of check boxes today, where we are, anybody can do this job. We just need to fill a seat. I guess you don't necessarily believe that.
Not at all. Not
Talk
at all.
to me about that, man. Talk to me. Where does that come from?
It comes from, in everything we do, either someone, I want to come home to my family. We all got dreams. We got aspirations. We have goals that we want to reach in life. But I view this job as a calling. It becomes a lifestyle. Um, and I always say, if you work in an office and you make 75 photocopies and they're wrong, you shred them and you make 75 more. If we do something wrong on a call, you go left and I tell you to go right, you can fall in a hole and die. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be very tactful and we have to be very smart in what we're doing, and no matter where we're at, any time of day. So I just, you got to understand this job can kill you. It can kill you, whether you're good, you're bad, or indifferent. The job can kill you, and we have to take a understanding of that and stand tall so that we can be the best that we can be, not only for ourselves but for the citizens that we protect.
What you're saying is the details matter. And like, when you think about that, you said it's a lifestyle for you. It's a calling. It's chosen. You chose it and you went all in on it. And I think when you want to be the very best you could be at anything, I think it consumes you. I don't think you can turn it on and turn it off. And a lot of guys talk about you have to turn it off. You got to find balance. And I appreciate that. And I get that, right? There are times I just went to the beach for a week and I still thought about firefighting, but not as much, right?
Correct.
But the thing is this, it's like if you go all in on it, like you said, it's a lifestyle. Then the details of the job and the intricate things, the nuances that make you just that much better at your job, it has to consume you, doesn't it?
Correct. It does. It's still a blue collar job. You got to drag hoses, you got to hook ceiling. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's nasty. Some days you eat on time, some days you don't. Um, but there's an educational component to it, and I think that involves the critical thinking that goes into everything that we're doing. We're not robots. Every
Yep.
fire is not the same. You can go to the same fire in the same building 3 times, and things are going to be different. Some may be the same, and they draw a similar parallel, but things are different. And if you don't have the critical thinking skills, you'll just continue to do the same thing from your first day on the job to 20, 25, 30 years later, making the same mistakes.
Mm.
You know,
That's good. There's a lot there, man. That is how do I phrase this correctly? Like it's those things, right? It's what sets us apart. Like I was going to ask you, my next question was, and then my brain started spinning, was my next question was going to be, I guess you couldn't see yourself making 75 copies.
not at all. Not at all.
What is it about the critical thinking, right? Because we're not robots, like you said, and so the nuances of the job, the intricacies of this job, every single time we go out the door, even if it's for the same bread and butter run, there's always something about it there's a nugget, something you can learn from it, a mistake that you make, something that you learn from. Like that part of the job doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think.
Correct. I think a lot of times. So let's take a few steps back.
Please.
My background began in aviation maintenance. I went to high school, went to aviation high school in Long Island City, Queens, and I studied aircraft maintenance. I had a lot of hard nosed, old school teachers that were turning wrenches forever. You know, we had guys who were a couple of World War II pilots. We had guys who were Korean War vets, Vietnam vets, and once the plane's up in the air, you can't pull over to a cloud and fix it. You know, it's
No,
not like a
sir.
car. So things, they were very hard on us. Things had to be done right. You know, you had to follow the books, you had to follow the directions. You just had to fall within tight tolerances, clearances, and different things when you were doing things. So we learned a lot of theory before we were ever able to touch anything. You had to know the tools, understand the tools, what the tools were used for before you were ever able to go check one out from the tool counter. So I believe they put that work ethic in me early, and that understanding of it's not just a reset and keep on going. You know,
Yeah.
lives matter.
Let me ask you real quick, understanding theory before you even touched a wrench. How important was that for you in the process, right?
Um, in the beginning, it was like, well, what are they doing? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? And once you begin understanding of what a tool applies for, you know, I go out to my toolbox. I got a Snap-on toolbox, and I probably got 40 screwdrivers in there.
Right.
One that only has a certain application, and I have my go-to, which I use for every day. But every tool has its place, and same thing applies on the Fireground. You know, every company that responds, every member that responds, we all have a place on the field. You know, if that's what you want to call it, on the Fireground. So if you're not in your place and in your position and disciplined enough to do your job, things can go good or things can go bad. And many times when we have these table talks and these PIAs, we only brag about the victories,
Yes.
the victories, the victories, the victories. You know, the fire went out, everybody went home, nobody got hurt. Okay, sounds good, but what happens about all the things that are spoken about in the firehouse, or companies are starting to beef? You know, I remember back in the days when I first came in, you went back, the company officers called on the phone, and they had shouting matches, whatever it was, or whatever the issues were, they were talked about behind the scenes. But
Right.
when you don't address things, it's like a cancer, you know. And you ever put children in a classroom with glitter? Glitter's everywhere.
I,
Everybody comes home with glitter, whether you
my man,
touched it
my
or not.
daughters went through the whole slime phase in life. So trust me, I know. I have carpets with slime stains in them still.
Yes,
That was 12 years ago.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it can be a good thing. It can be good traits that are passed on, or it can be negative traits that's passed on. So I think, you know, we got to have open conversation, and harp on what are the good values and what needs to be corrected.
Mm,
Um, I think everything, when you're scared, when you go into that flight or flight moment, you always revert back to the basics. So it all really boils down to your training. Training breeds confidence. Confidence breeds a level of aggression. And I say that to say, because everything we do on the Fireground is aggressive. The
agreed.
moment the moment you make the decision to show up, PPE, and enter that building, that's an aggressive act. Everyone's running and you're deciding to go in. So you
I
got to,
love that. I say the same. Firefighting is aggressive, period.
yes,
There's no such thing as aggressive firefighting. We are always being aggressive,
correct,
period.
correct. But
Yeah.
you got to be confident in your training. You
100%.
got to be confident in the use of your tools. You have to be confident in your tactics, and you know, stretching the hand line to protect the interior stairwell. Very important. I always say everything easy isn't always correct. You know, so we may go and take the easy route in doing some things, but is that always correct? Are we protecting ourselves first so that we can be good for the people that we're protecting?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, you're talking about the protection of a stairwell, and I think about like discipline, right? Understanding the discipline of keeping that line in place. It's there because of, or in case of, right? And so
Correct.
you could get sidetracked very quickly by wanting to push down that next hallway because you see something you want to get to. Meanwhile, you lose the integrity of what your job was. You're not disciplined enough to stay focused, right?
Correct.
That's that whole understanding theory and then putting your tools to work. Like, I love that correlation between your early days as an aircraft mechanic school.
Correct.
And then bringing that to the fire service. Did your approach, and I didn't mean to like kind of steer the conversation away from your upbringing, right? Because you were starting to go down that road, but I want to get back to that. When you went through that schooling and you had those hard-nosed guys there that were kind of instilling this style of education and learning into you, I mean, that has to carry forward into the fire service for sure for you, correct?
It did. It did. Very much so.
So aircraft mechanic school, did you ever get onto a runway?
I did a couple internships, and I later went to school for automotive technology, which,
Okay.
you know, you study aircraft for 5 years, you can fix any engine.
I would think so,
And
yeah.
I later worked for Mercedes-Benz Manhattan, right there
Okay.
outside the Lincoln Tunnel. So I worked
Yep. Oh,
there.
I know it well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got a ticket right in front of that place.
Correct. So you know, just the skill set and the blue collar work. You know, the harder you work, the more money you made. So
Were you always a blue collar kid? Like growing up? Were you
yeah, you know, I taking things apart, you know, trying
Right.
to figure it out. Always got the mind. The mind's always going. It's always ticking. It's
Yeah,
always
I know it.
thinking, you know. So in doing that, you have to think 3 steps ahead. You have to think from the eyes of the technician to what was the engineer thinking about when they were putting this together to how I'm going to take this apart so I can get this job done in 3 hours versus 4 hours. You know, and the better you get good at it, and it just becomes just that your efficiency goes up.
And what I love about that though is like the way you're talking about it. It consumed you, right? Like you dissected it then too, because anybody can turn a wrench.
Correct.
Anybody can do an oil change. Anybody can swap out a motor. It's
Correct.
just how good are you at it? How proficient are you?
Correct.
How many moves does it take versus somebody that's a hack that can still do the same job, but it's going to take him 3 times as long and he's going to take shortcuts, right?
Correct. Correct. And at the same time, being a professional at what you do.
Yeah.
You know, we can butcher it. You know, I was working on $200,000 cars. You butcher that car, the money's coming out the dealer's pocket, and eventually they're going to cut you. You're gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
So being a gentleman or a gentlewoman at being a professional at whatever
love
you
that.
do is just, I feel, is just very important. You know, it's no different than forcible entry. Everybody
Well-
loves to break stuff, but
Mhm.
can we break it, and then you know the person can still use the door again? You know, locksmith can come in, replace the locks, and the door can still be used. You know.
I love you bring up forcible entry, and that is a great way to talk about this. Is you watch somebody that is comfortable and confident with their tools. It's an extension of their body. They understand leverage. They understand how to use the tools with finesse versus a guy with brute force, right? A guy that kicks the door, mule kicks the door, slams at the door with, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like there's just such a difference between the two techniques. And typically finesse will win out 9 out of 10 times.
And it all goes back to what? Size up.
That's right.
We size up everything. And, you know, I say size up begins the moment you're giving your assignment right out of drill school. You know, what area of the city am I working in? What kind of buildings are over there? I'm looking at stuff on my ride in, I'm looking at stuff on my ride home, you know, and, you know, you're constantly sizing up, you're looking up at the buildings. You should be watching every little thing, whether you're going on EMS calls, you're going on elevator calls. You should always be out in the district just looking at the buildings. You know, nowadays everybody's heads down in their phone and they don't know,
No doubt.
you know, what's going on around them. But I just think that's very important. Size up.
But it makes sense, right? Because like everything you're talking about, this is why I love the backstory. It's like when you were talking about going to aircraft mechanic school, it's like, or then the automotive side, and you're like, I have to get in the engineer's mindset. I have to get in the dealership's mindset.
Right.
I have to get like when that is deconstructing the big picture to make it work for you. You're taking all levels of input and you're bringing it in to formulate your plan and then your action.
Correct.
And Like, I love that because it's a really great way to break it down and talk about it that way. Like, again, we have hacks in the fire service that they don't take different rides to the firehouse. They don't drive around their first due. They don't pay attention on medical calls, right? All those things you just talked about.
Yeah.
Those guys can do the job too. They just don't do it with professionalism and finesse.
Correct. And that's scary. That can be scary.
Of course.
That can be very scary. And I think a lot of times that it starts to shift the ways that the upper echelon then starts to look at your firehouses. You know, you got your strong companies, you got weaker companies, and it not only that encompasses the members. Do they come to work every day and worry about what they do outside of here? You're doing a 12-hour shift, a 24-hour shift, whatever you're doing. While you're there, just give it 100. But that comes down to having a standard. You know, we can't hold people accountable if we don't have a standard for them to follow. You know.
Well, man, you're freaking knocking this thing out of the park. There's so much here because that's what I talk about. The winning firehouses, the great cultures.
Correct.
They don't have minimum standards. They just have standards.
Correct.
These are our standards here. You want to be a member of our department? There's no minimum.
Yes.
We want you to do more. So we just have a standard.
Correct.
And you have to meet this standard. And that standard is far above minimum.
Correct.
And then we want you to be better than that. And we're going to give you every tool and opportunity to double down on your career, volunteer a career, your firehouse. You have every opportunity to be the best you can be. We have standards. We want you to exceed our standards. Let's go do it together.
Yes.
That's how we freaking win, man.
Yes. Because the public doesn't know. The public just sees the fire truck show up. You know, they see the fire truck show up and they're alarmed what's going on, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, you know, you got a job to do. Show up, put your gear on, wear it right, get off the truck with your tools, tap the hydrant, stage in the lobby, do a perimeter check to the rear, put the aerial to the roof, go through the reps on the calls that are non-emergent. So when the real deal kicks in, you operate flawlessly. There are things that are going to come in and variables that are going to change the dynamic of it. But when you practice, it's done easy. It looks easy, you know?
There's so much so what I love about that though is it takes work, but it takes when you have a culture that allows for that. Correct. It's not work, right? It's just part of the machine, right? Yes. It's what we do.
Just another day in the office.
Right? And that's the thing. And then you look at other departments that don't go through that. They don't open caps on hydrants. They don't put the ladder to the roof on smoke, food on the stove. They don't go to the rear, like all these things. It's because it's work for them and they don't want to have to exert any extra activity if they don't need to. Meanwhile, the winning fire companies that is the standard. This is what we do. Correct. And we do this every time we turn a wheel.
Yes. You know, when you break it down, you break down a shift. I don't know. My firehouse was averaging 12 runs a day.
Right.
If we go out the house and we break that down and we go from the minute we arrive on scene to the minute we get back to the station and we total up the next morning, we may have only worked, 5 hours out of the full 24 when you really break it down.
Sure.
You know? So just do your job. Really just do your job. Do what you're paid for. Get into the SOPs. Know where you belong. Understand the admin regs so you aren't getting in trouble. You know, what happens behind the doors of the firehouse should stay behind the doors of the firehouse. Don't let the public get hold of it.
No, we want to make everything public today, and we want to drag everybody into our drama, and we can't handle shit in-house anymore. Everything always has to go up the chain, and let me skip the chain of command and not even go to my senior man or my officer. Correct. I'm just going to go to the battalion chief. I mean, there's so much dysfunction in a lot of what we do today, and it's because nobody's focusing on the mission. All they care about is themselves. There's so much of that today, right?
Yes. You know,
I'm tired of it.
I'm tired
of it.
I'm with you.
Yeah. How does a kid from Bedford-Stuyvesant in New York City find his way to Richmond, Virginia to a truck company and fall in love with this job? Like, how does that happen? You talked about, going to the aircraft maintenance school, right? Yep. That was the high school that you went to and so on. But your journey from there, how did you end up where you are, man? Take me through it.
So it's crazy. If anybody really knows New York City well, 9/11 happened during my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
FDNY shops are right down, not too far on Greenpoint Avenue, right before you
Mm-hmm.
go over the bridge. So we watched everything from the school. We saw the rigs going off the 59th Street Bridge heading into Manhattan. Um, so I was always into the fire service and felt that's the route that I wanted to take. I kind of missed some of the deadlines with some of the civil service exams or whatever. And, life goes on. You
Sure.
move on to other places. So I got down here. I was working at a BMW dealership. That didn't work out too well. A friend of mine said, "Hey, the fire department's hiring." I got the ad out the newspaper. Took the test. 2, 3 years later, my number got called, and I'm in drill school. So no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm flipping hamburgers or like we're doing right now, being a fireman, I want to be the best at whatever I'm doing, and I'm gonna give it all. I'm gonna give it all.
Yeah. Did you pursue the job to Richmond though? Is that like you were looking
No,
for?
I family. I moved down for family,
Okay.
and so forth, so on.
Yeah,
Next thing
I
you
get it.
know, yeah, let me give it a shot.
That's cool, man. The impact. So many people outside of our area, like I see the New York City skyline every day from where I live, and so many people from outside of our area just don't. They can't understand the magnitude of that day and what that did for so many people here, right?
Correct.
And on so many levels. And I'm even talking about just the general public. It's not even a fire service, just the
Yes.
general public.
Yes.
Everybody knows people that were lost that day, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like you look at the photos of the days after, all the missing person flyers that were up, right? The cars that were left behind at the commuter stations, right? The empty, I mean, all of that stuff. It had a massive impact on our area. And I can count, I can't count. I know more than I can count of people that were inspired to serve after that.
Correct.
Inspired by the fire service, inspired by the police department, by the Port Authority, and of course EMS as well. Like there was a massive movement of people that were inspired by a moment in time that affected our country. And
Yes.
you're one of those guys. I mean, that's incredible. That is an incredible memory, I'm sure, for you to sit there and watch those companies head over and go to that
Right.
blazing column that we all saw that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, I interned at the FDNY through the summer youth program, and
Oh, that's cool.
it's funny because I was in what they call the tech development and support services. I was with the IT guys, and we load up fax machines and printers. And I was with a guy, Chris. I don't remember what his last name was. He said, "Hey, where you want to go eat lunch at?" Chris get on the phone. He call the firehouse. We go. We eat lunch. We go in the service truck. Swap out a laptop. Swap out a printer or whatever fax
Right.
machine. So years later to now start to be not just be a student of the craft and to go to classes and go different places and meet different people, and you start to put one and one. The fire service is just such a small world,
Mm.
and this person knows this person and this person knows that person, and if you need something with the phones that we have, we can reach anybody in the world.
That's right.
And you call and they say, "Hey, come on over," and come on down, and it's just such a small culture, and you want to have a good name. you know um you want to be good at what you do. That's the purpose of doing it.
I think reputation is incredibly important. You talked about your company earlier. You talked about the importance of our companies and, the reputation of our companies. And, I often wonder how many companies or departments are living on the reputation of yesterday and not who they actually are today, right? I think
Yes.
about how many guys are riding in companies that they think they are top of the food chain. Meanwhile, that reputation was built by guys that came 25 years before them.
Yeah.
And today they don't uphold that standard that they once had in those companies, right?
Correct.
But all of this stuff for you, you found the fire service because of childhood memories. I mean, just things that have popped up in your life that you made a comment before we started recording. It was the best line about fires. Say that line again. It was awesome about living where you lived versus where you work today.
Yes, that I probably grew up watching more fires than I'll ever go to in my life.
That's when you think about that as a kid growing up in the streets like that, in the neighborhood and seeing fires happen, right? Like,
yeah, they were still wearing 3/4 boots. Guys were sitting on the turntables, they were smoking cigarettes.
Kids played on those trucks like jungle gyms, man.
We played on the trucks, we
Right?
climbed fire escapes, we
Yeah.
it's just living in the city.
Yeah.
We caught the tail end of the war years. So in the Bronx, they were burning tenements. In Brooklyn, they were burning road frames and brownstones. So it was nothing to stand on one block, and they were just vacants, empty lots. You can see 2, 3 blocks across. It was
Wow.
the back end of the crack epidemic. This
Yeah.
was the early 90s.
Yep.
Um, the world was changing.
Mhm.
It was the old Times Square.
Right.
I
Yeah,
remember.
dirty and
Yes,
seedy, man.
dirty, nasty,
Prostitution,
yes,
open
everywhere.
drug market,
Yes, the
the whole
old Times
42nd
Square.
Street, man. It
Correct.
was like, yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All the
I
smoke
remember.
shops were burning. It
Yeah.
was a different world.
Go-go bars everywhere, right?
Correct.
Times Square was all go-go shops
Yes.
and nude dancing.
Yeah.
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 Do you have like those memories? Do you often think about those memories? And like, I know for me, watching my father, he was a fireman, and the guys that he rode with, I looked at those guys like they were 12 feet tall, man, like just giants that I wanted to
Yeah.
be like.
Yeah.
Did you have that sense about like New York City firemen at that time?
I did. That
Yeah.
I did. I did. We had a close family friend, Charlie Williams. He passed away from cancer-related injuries from 9/11. But
Yeah.
I would always remember him telling stories. And then I was a kid. You're in the
Sure.
foreground, the adults are talking, but the memories come back later. And some things come back to you later on in life. And now being on the job, I can put one and one together and understand what he was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So I would call him all the time, and he would always tell me, he said, Sherard, you need to get to a truck. I say, okay, okay. He says, one thing about being on the truck is if you make a mistake, nobody's going to see you. You operate independently. It's a thinking man's game. And I said, you know what? It's true. It's really just a thinking man's game. And I always say it all the time. Like for me, being on the truck, I enjoy riding the OV position. You get opposite of the hand line. You either force a rear door. The way we do, because we ride with four, is we may send the OV to the roof to help out the chauffeur, roof
Right.
ventilation. But you're free safety. You bounce
Mm-hmm.
around and you fit in
That's
where
right.
you deem things necessary. Many times you grab your hook, you grab your Halligan, you grab a 24, and you try to get to the rear,
And you're off.
I
Yeah.
got to get there, and I got to do whatever's necessary to get into position. Because the guys in my company are expecting me to be where I need to be.
That's right.
You get to the rear. If it needs to be VES, you VES. And I just think certain things don't need to be said on the radio. Just do it. Just do it.
One of the best things I ever heard was, I don't need to know what you're doing. I need to know when you can't do it.
Correct.
I think that like that has stuck with me for a very, very long time. And I think we've become this permission-based fire service where we're almost looking for the okay over the radio to go do your job, right?
Yes.
This long-winded report of what we're doing, where we are, how we're doing it. Shut up and just go do it.
Yes. Yes.
And if you can't get to your position, or you can't make the fire floor, you can't get to the rear, that's the only thing I need to know. Ventilation is going to be delayed in the rear. I've limited access. I can't get the line to the fire floor. We're going to be delayed because of whatever. Like, those are the important stuff, right? There should be this cadence on the Fireground that you have an expectation of what the jobs are, and they should just get done. And we shouldn't have to tell everybody what we're doing.
Not only tell them everything what we're doing, but let's keep our talk simple. Go to the second floor, not go to Division 2. But
Keep going, man. I love this. Keep going.
39 years of my life has been the second floor, the third floor, the fourth floor. Now it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 2. Come on. Now, when shit goes bad, what do? You revert back. I'm on the second
100%.
floor. I need help.
That's right.
Let's talk the way we've always been talking. Let's not try to create. I think we've taken NIMS to just drastic levels. It has its place. I do believe it has its place, but not for bread and butter house fire.
I was just going to say, Brett, I was just going to use that term,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely. I agree with you. I think, you know, the large scale incidents where we have massive incident management teams and command staffs, like, I get that, man. There has to be a certain terminology and a certain pecking order.
Yes.
But room and contents, structural fire, and a 2.5-story wood frame,
Correct.
like, we should know what the first 4 companies are tasked to do without even telling them, right? And then on top of that, everything else is a bonus. But we should be able to get that line in place and put that fire out very quickly, and it should be done with minimal chatter.
Correct. And most of that's dictated by what? SOPs.
That's right.
Engine 1, engine 5, engine 6. And, you know, first truck's got the fire floor. The second truck's got the floor above. Like, these are simple things that we know before we get out the door. So why are we getting on scene and regurgitating and rehearsing the same exact thing by whoever arrives on scene first? A lot of people ain't gonna like me saying this, but it's very much true. We've allowed some testing companies to dictate what's going on in the fire service.
100%.
People who will never ride a fire truck or who have never ridden a fire truck dictate now how we command the scenes that we operate on each and every day. And I think that's very disheartening.
Well, I can tell you this on your everyday runs, the informalness on the handy talkies or the portables, right? It is when I need something done, it's a name. I'm calling a name. Joe, I need you to get, you know, or this or that, right?
Correct.
We revert to that because that's what works well for us.
Yes.
And you said something before that I want to double back on because it fits right in here. You said, listen, if we're going out the door 12 times a day and we're, you know, on the street for 5 hours or whatever it is, plus training and this and that, we have downtime. Know your SOGs. I love the informal knowledge that comes from one radio transmission, right? Like when you unpack it, when you get good at what we do and you know your first due, you know your department, you know the companies around you, the guys, right? You look at who's working or who's riding that night in the volunteer house. You know the bread and butter guys that are always showing up for the fires, right? When you start to put all that together, one transmission or one thing happening in the fire service world, 8 million things run across your mind in 1 second, and you fully comprehend. You know the company's coming, you know the people coming, you know your job, your tools, your tasks, right? You know the neighborhood, you know what the building looks like. Like when you unpack all that, that comes from doing it. That comes from studying and understanding where you work, where you volunteer, where you go to fires, how you do it, and understanding your SOGs. And we don't talk enough about that. I think when somebody puts forth a simple message, the amount of data that we can download in our own brains that comes from experience outnumbers anyone else in anything, man. Right? Think about that. It's wild.
Like you said, that radio transmission, just the tone of it is contagious.
Yes.
You know, it sets the tone. Whether there's a quote out there, and I'm probably not saying it exactly. I'm just going to summarize it from Andy Fredericks. You know, when the garbage man turns the block, he sees trash.
Right.
He doesn't get excited. He's the trash man.
That's right.
Right. So why do
That's
we
right.
get excited when we pull into the block and there's fire blowing out 3 windows? Why do we get excited when we're going to cut job and the car's down the embankment? Like, this is what we know we turned out the door for. This is what the dispatchers told us. Prepare yourselves en route. You know what tack channel to be on. Know where the tools are. I hate when people get off the rig and they're opening every door. Open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. What are we doing? You know? What
How do you prepare yourself? Like, what's your mental game? You get tapped out. Truck 2 gets tapped out for a fire. You're going first due truck on a reported dwelling fire. Where does your mind go? Like, what's your frame of mind?
I try to slow my breathing down. Put my mind in the set of what part of town are we going to, what may be in the block, time of day, you know, all the things that help you to size up and slow down. But the biggest thing is when I get off the truck, look at the fire building, slow down, take a deep breath, look left, look right. Where am I going? Where's the fire at and where's the fire going? So for me, I believe building construction and fire behavior are 2 of the biggest things that we need to be studying at all times. You need to understand where the fire is at and where it may be going next, because that's going to dictate what moves you're going to make. You know, we've got a lot of acronyms out there that I believe are important when it's for test taking time, but this isn't the actual priority of how we need to do things when we arrive on scene. And you have to read the play and read the field and understand what's going on before you start jumping in there. Um, that's just the biggest one for me. You know, slowing down your breathing.
Yeah.
I've been
How do you do that? You have a method you use, or you just, it's just
I get in the truck.
you just
I get in the truck and I go through my rhythm. Hoods on, radios set, right channel, jackets up, close the flap, flashlight on,
Mhm.
go through, straps, seatbelt. Continuing the whole time, still listening to the radio. Put my gloves on nice and slow. Just sit back and ride. And I'm the guy that comes in where the older guys always rode with the windows down. They didn't care about AC, they didn't care about heat. And
I
the
love
reason
this.
was because you smell it in the air. You
Yes.
know, and we use every sense except the sense of taste when we're sizing things up. You smell it, you see it, you hear it. You know, some of our senses may be blocked or we're unable to use for a moment's notice, but you can smell it. Let's smell the smoke. What does it
I
smell
can't
like?
see it. I can smell
Yeah.
it, right?
Is it a
Yeah.
furnace? Is it wood? Is it wood burning? Is it trash? Is
Right.
it food on the stove? You know, and that then dictates and pushes you to where you're going to go. But at no matter what, I'm operating at the same speed. If you hear reports of people trapped, I'm still operating at the same speed. The level of urgency is there, but I have to still move at the same speed so I don't lose myself or lose my orientation.
I love that.
So some people will say, well, you need to, if they're masking up, I don't mask up in the rig. I don't want to take my vision from here to now here, because now I'm fixated. It's a moth to the light. And I say that to say because once my mask is on, I'm breathing through a McDonald's straw. And here's a little EMS. Now I start to get hypoxic, right? You know,
I love it.
confusion.
Yeah.
You start to get delusional.
Yeah.
It's so I say the things, but I have not only data but experience to back them up. And I
Mhm.
believe some people just get up and they get in front of the microphone and they say these things, but they don't have a reasoning on why they do it. One understanding. If that's what works for you, you do that. But I don't want to go in and suck through a bottle 10 times quicker or 3 times quicker because I became hypoxic. And now once I get air, I'm trying to hurry up and fix that problem with myself. Slow down. You know, people trapped. I need to push a little further. I'm going to be that level of aggression where I may go a little deeper. I may go one more room deeper than, oh man, we got to hang tight at the landing. Hey, can we get somebody up here with a can? Try to keep it back. Let's get a door to block the fire blowing out the room. If I go down that hallway, I may not be able to come back down. I know once I get back there, they got to sit tight or I may not have to go out a window. So,
Well, listen, you're talking about cadence, and that comes from experience. I believe that, right? Like this job, it really does. Experience and knowledge matters. It's like any trade or craft, right? Carpentry, electrician, plumber, right? Whatever it is, you get a certain confidence when you have experience, and with that comes the opportunity to slow down. Start being, you used it, being a gentleman, right? Like, all those things, right? But that comes with time and experience. And so for you then, what do you got? 14 years, I think
14
this month
years.
you said,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, where are you in the pecking order, like in your company? Are you in the middle when it comes to seniority, or do you have?
Over the last 2 years, we've increased our staffing. We've hired probably about 150 to 175 people.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like the old guy now. I go and fill.
So you're starting to trend younger, yeah.
I'm
Right.
filling in places, and you total up the years of service in the fire, riding with you, and it's 6 years. And I'm like, holy.
But you're a young guy.
I'm a young guy. It's.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
Damn.
Yeah.
10 years. I got 10 years on you.
Yeah.
But you're a young guy, and what I'm getting at is like, you're still absolutely in your prime, pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And now you're in a position that whether you want it or not, or want it or recognize it, you are mentoring these new kids.
Correct.
There's a lot of youth in the fire service today that's looking for direction.
Yes.
So what does that look like for you? Like when you sit back and think about that, you're very methodical in your approach and your cadence and how you prepare yourself for when it's time to go to work and things like that. Do you stress that to these kids? Like, is that part of your conversation and
That's
mentorship with
that's
them?
the biggest way to reach them. I find for myself. So I'm not a huge technology. I'm not the technological guy that you should have saw me trying to set up the podcast. I was like, holy shit, get my
Bro,
kids.
you were delivering fax machines to the New York City Fire Department,
Yeah,
man. What are you talking
yeah.
about? You should be the IT guy.
We was still putting phone kits in the Benzes when I was working there. We didn't even have Bluetooth
I love that.
yet.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome.
you have to reach them where they are. Um, get them out of their phones.
Yep.
And just talk to them. Sometimes it
Yeah.
takes pulling out a piece of chalk and writing on the board or the dry erase board or whatever you got to do, but you got to reach them to where they are. And a lot of times
Engagement.
you have to engage them on something that's of
Yes.
their liking and have
Yes.
analogies. And this, a lot of times, it brings the full understanding to them. So when we went to EMT school, I was struggling. The parts of the heart, we're going through anatomy. They took it and gave me that as the heart being the engine, the motor. Okay. So now I'm tuned in.
Yep.
Okay. Relate this part to this part, this part to this part. So now my understanding and my studying is relate this valve to this
Right.
to this, and and that's how it all came together. You know, you have to like you said. I view, because I hear it so many times. You got people 3 years in the firehouse. They're like, I'm the senior person. I'm the senior man. Well, I look at seniority two ways. You're senior to the firehouse because you know the culture of that firehouse, but your experience on the job is zero to none. So let the senior members teach the job and you run the house.
I like that. There's so much there, and I think we all have, and I know you would agree with this, we all have opportunity to learn, whether you're the senior man or the junior guy. And, we have to be open and willing to be mentored too, right? It's one thing to mentor, right? It's one thing to be a senior guy who recognizes a couple go-getters and you're like, I'm going to zero in on these kids a little bit and give them a little bit more of my time and really help them. That's awesome. But those young kids have to want to be mentored. They have to open themselves up to some criticism, some constructive feedback. They have to be propped up every once in a while to know that they hit their targets, right? They're doing well. So it's like there's that fine balance between all of that, right? But I do find that it's alive and well when people pick their heads up and look around, and they create engagement. And I think engagement is such a powerful word because we all default. As soon as things get quiet, what do? We all reach in our pocket, pull out our phones.
Yeah.
And that's like the boredom. That's how we fix boredom or quietness, right? Like nobody likes to sit quietly anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like and I did a lot of that this past week. Believe it or not, this past week I was down at the beach and I'm sitting there. My wife's reading. My kids are doing, reading or doing their stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching. Like we got a little music playing, but like I'm not on my phone the whole time. I'm not reading. I'm just sitting and watching, and I was starting to collect my thoughts about a lot of different things, right? I don't often sit quietly.
Okay.
And I was thinking about that, and only right now in this conversation am I putting this all together, but so many of us get uncomfortable when it's quiet.
Right.
So we look for distractions. And so if we need to be distracted, why not distract ourselves with something that will engage us to want to be better or do better?
Right.
And so instead of mindlessly scrolling, why don't somebody engage someone in the firehouse with a conversation about duplexes or, multifamily dwellings or extended stretches or whatever it is? Because what I have found is as we engage and somebody leads that conversation and pushes the narrative, guys will dial in.
Correct.
If it's engagement, they want to be engaged. They want to learn. But too many of our leaders today are finding they don't like the quietness, so they just pick up their phone instead of engaging people.
You got to make learning fun. You got to make drills fun. It can't always be that structured 3 companies come out and we wear our blue shirts and we do. No. Just grab a piece of equipment, grab a saw out the truck.
It can be that simple.
Bring it to the table. Let's just go over maintenance. Let's break it down. Let's talk about the parts. Watch out for this. This is this. This is this. 15, 20 minutes later, pack it up, throw it away. pull into Lowe's. Go into Lowe's. Let's just see what the new locks are out on the market. Let's engage in what we do every day. Let's look at the roof shingles. Houses under construction, pull up, let's look at it. There's an open house in the neighborhood. We're not buying the house. We know we're not buying it. But this may be where we go to our next fire at. Let's get in this house.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never even thought of that one.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. It just takes imagination.
It does.
Right? It just takes engagement. And I find that those cultures that are thriving, those good fire department cultures, are ones where people are dialed in. They want to talk. They're in I'm here at the firehouse. I want to do this.
Correct.
It's not a burden to be here.
Yes.
I want to be here,
Yes.
right? That type of thing.
It is. It is. And
what?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You had. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna kind of pivot just a little bit, and I said, "What? You mentioned a mentor for you, an older gentleman that just had passed from 9/11 cancer. I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
Charlie Williams.
Charlie Williams.
Yes.
Charlie Williams told you, go to the truck.
Go to the truck.
That sticks with you today.
Sticks with me today. When I came into the Richmond Fire Department, I caught the tail end of the Quint concept. So they would.
Oh, I didn't know you guys had. Okay, I didn't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
multiple personalities, man.
was.
Multiple personalities.
And they say ignorance is bliss, and that's very much true. So what I knew of the fire service was only FDNY from growing up in the city.
Sure.
So to step
That's right.
outside, I was oblivious to it. I didn't know. And we're sitting in drill school when they're going over the assignments, and I lived in the county, but I would drive through the city. I see 2 fire trucks in the station. I just figured it's an engine in a truck. I didn't know
Sure.
anything about quints and the FRVs. So they're going over the assignments, and they're like, we send 4 quints, 2 battalion chiefs, and a rescue. And I'm like, sir, what's a quint? And they're like, him. We'll go over it, and they break it down. And,
Yeah.
and the whole time, coming from the the technician side, the mechanical side of things, I said this doesn't make any sense. And then no, it does. No, because people are gonna always do what they're comfortable doing. If I'm comfortable stretching a hand line, I'm gonna stretch a hand line. If I want to pull sailing, I'll pull sailing. People always did what they wanted to do. The fires went out, but they weren't always the best results. So probably within going into my second year, we were starting to transition from it. Went back to the traditional engines and trucks, and we still had rescues for a short amount of time before we eventually disband those companies. But yeah, it was a huge shock. It was, whoa, what are we doing? Like I said, the more tools you put in the toy box, the more tools the children are going to pull out. And that's not calling the firemen kids, but I have kids. The more tools you allow them to get to, everything's going to be out in the living room at a certain point.
You ever let kids play with glitter? Right? I mean, you're 100% right. So were you always on the truck, or
started out on the engine?
Okay.
And we were in the system as a Class A pumper pretty much everywhere in the city. The quint that we had was usually out of service, so we just always acted as a Class A pumper. We were one of 3-4 companies that had Seagraves at the time.
Got it.
So that was good, just good engine work. Engine Company 5, we were making a Firehouse magazine. We were doing like a little over 4,000 runs a year.
Yeah.
So,
Was that a good introduction for you? Do you think that the engine is a good place for a lot of kids coming out of the academy? Do you think that to learn the dynamics of fire and to learn how to flow and move and push a line, like those are fundamentals that I think everybody needs to get right out of the academy?
Very much so. Before you even decide to go across the floor, because it's the beginning of everything. Hooks don't put out.
Right.
Love being on the truck, but hooks don't put out fire.
Careful. Careful.
It doesn't.
Right.
No,
you're right. You're 100% right.
You learn those dynamics, you learn those principles, you learn those understanding, and you see flow. You see how the fire flows. You see what the smoke does, and then you have that protection of the hand line with you. Because once you get on the truck, you're going ahead of the hand line. A lot of times you're operating by yourself. You're splitting crews. You have to make decisions, but how can you make a decision if you've never sometimes seen some of these events happen?
Yeah.
So I believe, starting out on the engine, just the foundational, fundamental part of the fire service is very important.
How was that?
It,
Did you get some good nozzle time there?
it was good. My last day, we caught a second alarm job. I had the knob, and then we caught another job later on. So it put you on the fence. Am I making the right transition? But being on the truck was good. I went to truck 10 for a little while, and they were in house with Rescue 2, who did the HTR stuff. So I started going into those disciplines, and then some staffing issues came up. I bumped out to another engine for a while. Then the last 6 years, I've been up in Churchill, back on the truck.
Yeah,
So
which is truck 2 now,
truck
right?
2
Yeah.
now, yeah. So it's been good.
Yeah. It's so what you run a 4-man truck?
Yes.
So you got driver, officer, and then what? You got OV and what's your other position? Can.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? The officer and can are
searching.
And you're the rear and the driver's going to the roof.
Correct.
Okay. That works well.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, it does. Some days we wish we had the 5th member, you know?
Is 4 your like you never go out the door with 5, do you?
If staffing's heavy in the city, we'll try to upstaff the trucks with 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then give me a little rundown, like your first due. What does it look like? Is it pretty diverse, or is it?
I always say we're a downtown truck living in a residential neighborhood. So
break that down for me. What does that mean?
We're at the top of the Shaco Hill area, right up the hill. Churchill's the area. So we come out the station, we bust 2 rights, go down the hill in the valley, and then we're coming into the downtown section of Richmond. So if you're ever coming on through 95 and you're cutting through where you pass the clock and everything, that whole downtown area is all us. That's all our first due area. So we got the VCU hospital.
Richmond's it's an old town, man.
Very old town. The department was established 1865 as a paid. So we're one of the oldest in the country.
Yeah.
You had all the balloon frame, mill construction, row houses, all the tobacco manufacturers were here, Philip Morris. So a lot of those plants have been converted.
A lot of mill types then. Yeah.
Been converted into apartments now.
Do you you mentioned how important it is to know fire behavior and of course building construction. You mentioned that before. I got to think then in Old Town that you're dealing with, you guys have a lot of everything, because I'm sure there's been a resurgence also in some of the areas of the city too, I'm sure, right? So you're going through the gentrification or revitalization of some of the downtowns or whatever, but you also have a lot of this older legacy construction too. So for opening up and understanding fire behavior, I'm sure you've gotten quite an education over the years.
You see it all. You've seen everything from, the typical balloon frame plaster and lath to newspaper being used for insulation, in some of these homes that were built during the Civil War, late Civil War. So it's crazy, the new lightweight stuff that's going out that has to blend in because of the historical features of the neighborhood or section of town that is built in, and restoration companies coming in. So a lot of times I get off the firehouse and I'll ride different neighborhoods of the city, and if I could sneak in an apartment building, I do it just to see what I can see, take photos, come back. It makes for great talking points. You lay a photo you put a couple photos on the computer, and we sit there and we just talk about, all right, what kind of door is this? How will we force it? Where you think the bulkhead would be located? Look at this scuttle over here, or you look at a lot of these old homes had the oil furnaces or the coal chutes, so they're telling you whether you got a full basement or you got a half basement. It's so many things that you just look at to put this home together, to put this building together, to tell you what you have. So good old port town.
Comes walking, you got to walk the real estate, man. You got to see what's out there. What is it about the OV position for you? You said that that's your favorite spot, and I have to think it's because it's an independent space. It's an independent position that allows you to put all your knowledge and tools to the test.
Correct. It's going to test you. It's going to test you in every way, shape, form possible. We need to search as many places as possible. We know the second due truck is coming and they're going to have the floor above. But if I can get to the opposite side of the building in VES prior to them getting there, or pop in a room and say, hey, this one's already been taken care of, you take the other 2 or 3, I think it's a wonderful thing. I love the
And that VES is part of your SOGs. Then you guys do practice
not
that.
overall. It's not written in our books, but it's something that
Got
we've
it.
come together with as a company.
That seems to be the trend. Is a lot of departments don't commit to the actual act of, but it can be in the course of.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cute way to dance around it, I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get opposite of the fire. So the OV, your position, you're going opposite of the fire. You're going to gain ground. You're going to get ahead of the line, and you're going to search.
Correct.
And then if you need to, you'll get to the roof, or you'll assist the chauffeur with opening up,
Yes.
or topside or something like that,
Correct.
because you guys go to the roof to open,
Yes,
correct?
we do. Yes.
Peaked roofs?
Peaked roof, flat roofs. Yes.
There you go. Okay, all roofs.
roofs.
Check the
Yes.
all the above,
the
right?
above.
Yeah.
Yes. The guys are getting
Yeah.
to the roof.
No, that's good. I mean, I love the and then before I even go there, the backside report, the opposite side report, is that you are giving a report over the radio?
If I can, yes. Yes.
And what does that look like? You just look conditions, size up, things like that?
Conditions, if it's anything different than what was given upon arrival, whether we got fire extending, whether we got a deep setback, possible people jumping,
Right.
giving those reports to the chief as quick as possible so he can make decisions, or whoever's arriving can get in place where they need to be.
Do you guys run battalion chiefs?
Yes. So we've got.
So do they have an aide?
They don't.
Okay.
They don't.
So they're operating independently,
Correct.
right? So then they don't have another set of eyes and ears. So that report from the rear from the OV firefighter is critical.
Yes. So what also has happened now is, so we send 5 engines, 2 trucks, 3 battalion chiefs. So we've got the first arriving battalion chief is going to be the incident commander. Second arriving battalion chief will take the seaside or act as ops if they need to go inside. And the third one's a safety battalion. So we do have a chief that goes to the rear, but most of the time that first 2 truck is there first, and they can give that report.
How big is the city? Like how many companies?
20 engines, 9 trucks,
Okay.
2 battalions.
I didn't know you guys were that big. I didn't think it was that big. Okay.
Right over.
All right, because five engines on the initial reported fire is pretty substantial.
That was during the Quint concept. So now we're still sending 5, but it's, typically 2 lawn fires. Sometimes we need that third one. And, one company's acting as RIT. One of the engines is acting as a RIT company when they arrive the 4th due.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. And then it's not, how many battalions is the city broken up into?
4.
4 battalions. Okay. And you're pulling 3 battalions on a reported fire.
Yeah. Safety officer. Yeah, it's their own battalion. Yeah.
Got it. That's substantial, man. I mean, the box is stacked. It sounds like you have pretty good resources on the get, no?
Correct. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and everything's staffed with 4 across? Yeah. Nice. That's good. That's a nice first alarm assignment for you guys. Yeah. I got to think, too, though, in an old town that you guys are dealing with, you probably get some fires that are pretty well involved on arrival.
Yeah. Yeah. But the companies are very solid. The members, very aggressive. We said that earlier, but they're go-getters. They want it. These places, good firemen, and this is not a sexist thing, but good firemen go to busy houses.
That's
so
true.
You're not going to have a bunch of slugs sitting around in a lot of these places. They tend to move out pretty quick.
Well, that's the good thing about a thriving culture, right? You have a firemanship culture, and we talked about the standard before. This is our standard here. Anybody that's subpar will not hang out there because they just can't. Yeah. They won't be tolerated, but they won't fit in. They just don't meet the standard. Yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing.
The job's not for everybody. We got to have honest conversation. Not saying you need to leave and go somewhere else, but either you do what's required because you took the oath. You chose the job didn't choose you. That's what I always say.
There's a lot of truth to that, and what I love about this is like my next logical question for you then is understanding a lot of your story now, or some of your story now. What did this fire service that you kind of fell into in a way, right? That you found, what has it done for you?
I've met a lot of good people. A lot of great people. Um, like I said earlier, it's a lifestyle. You know,
Hmm.
I'm out with my family and I'm looking at buildings. Every building I roll by, whether I'm wherever I'm at, if this building's on fire
It's all
right
of us.
now,
Yeah,
what
no
I do,
doubt.
you know, and
Right.
I'm thinking about it from the truck side, the engine side. If I was the battalion chief, as I'm watching videos online or whatever, I'm looking at pictures. What are they thinking? You know, how are we going to attack? And that starts to then dictate. It's caused me to get involved in different committees in different things because now, okay, the shift going to these incidents, the shift now needs to maybe transition this way where the books had it written one way. We may now start to cultivate and change things in a different manner based off of the type of runs that we're taking in.
I love
Yeah,
that because it
yeah,
just makes
yeah,
sense. I mean, everything you talked about, getting in the mindset of the dealership, getting in the mindset of the customer, getting in the mindset. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like when you were going back to your days of turning wrenches, like it just all makes sense. I want to ask you personally too, though, the values of the fire service. I said to you, I think before we hit record, I was talking about um, what the fire service does for individuals. You know, there's a lot of people that, you know, complain and get turned off by the fire service. And I just think that their journey is not what my journey has been. And, you know, I still think they can turn that around if they wanted to. But I look at like personally and professionally what it's done for me. The relationships are one thing, but also for me to be a part of something bigger, the service aspect, the integrity, the character, the all of that,
Yes,
man. I can't stress that enough about how important that is and how we need to sell that aspect of this job to the next
yes.
generation. Right?
So for me, I say treat everybody like your family, right? Every call you're going. Treat people with the utmost respect. And if I called the fire department, what fire department would I want to show up to my house? So that's how I handle myself at work. And that's what I try to tell the people around me. If you call 911 right now, or if your mother was coming through the city, or if your kids were rolling through the city, who would you want to show up and how would you want them
Yeah.
to perform?
Yeah. There's a lot there. And I think that, and then on top of that, what it can do for you as an individual to find the fire service and the core values of what the fire service stands for and the camaraderie
Yeah,
and fellowship that we all get
yeah,
from it. I mean, the fact that you and I got hooked up today and had this great
yeah.
conversation, I mean, it doesn't get any better than
Correct,
this, right?
correct.
Like that's my whole intent with this podcast is like just to try to be a little bit infectious about like the upside of this fire service. Like this is I could talk to a guy. I
Yeah,
could talk to a guy like you all day long. I could talk to you now for the rest of the day and we could just go down the road of storytelling and all of that. But that's what I want out of this. Is like there's so many great guys out there with just passion and
yeah.
conviction to share about how good this job is. And Sherard, I can't thank you enough for joining me, man. This has been a fantastic
It's a
conversation.
snowball effect, you know?
Love it.
I say it's a snowball effect. So the mission of the job translate into the tools and equipment that we need, translate into staffing, it translate into the rigs that we buy, how we spec them. Um, if I'm riding a certain position, if I'm riding the back step right behind the officer, my tool should be within arm's reach, maybe two compartments back when I get off. So you got to now think about these things when we spec the rig out. You know, like so many things evolve around something else that goes on, and those are, like I said, the basics and the details that we have to dig into. We can go spec a rig, or we could just buy a rig. You know, what are we looking to accomplish here?
Well, I saw that last tower ladder, you guys, that last aerial scope that showed up in your city. It's a hell of a
They
truck.
did a hell of a job with that thing.
They sure did, man. I featured it on some of our content, and you know the ground ladder compliment and everything about that truck. That truck was built for
Correct.
work, and well done,
Yes.
really well
Yes.
done. Yeah, Sherard Glover, thank you, man.
No
I
problem.
thank
Thank
you
you.
very, very much for joining me today, taking time out of your busy schedule. But man, I just like conversations like this fuel me. And I would love to extend an invitation for you to join me again another time and have you back, because there's so much value that came out of this conversation today. So thank you, man. I appreciate you sharing some of your love of the job with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. If people want to find you, if you want to hear, like, I don't know if people want to reach out, is it possible? Do you mind sharing, like, a way somebody can find you, or you just want to, you're like, leave me alone?
No. I keep a low profile.
I know. That's why I was afraid to ask you that. But
I'm on Instagram at RFD_BKSTP.
I love it.
So
I love it. And thank you for sharing that, because I just think that you can, I think you bring a lot to the game. And, I appreciate you sharing some of your story today and talking to me about something we both certainly have a passion for. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay right here. I'm just going to sign off the podcast, come right back to you, okay?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for tuning in for another awesome episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. I'm the luckiest guy in the fire service. I get to do this every single day, talk with guys that have an absolute love and passion for this job. And I think there were a lot of great takeaways today in this conversation. So, like I say at the end of every single episode, take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it. Because when we're talking about the job, we're making the job better. I'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio.